Thank you, Mr. Avle. How are you?
I'm very well. So Papa Youngson set me off, and now CK Man is taking me.
Oh
to the
yeah,
next
it's
level.
gonna be that kind of morning.
Yeah, it's beautiful, great
It's
stuff.
gonna be that kind of morning. We just need a bit of rain as well.
Why you want more rain?
Yeah.
What do you need it for?
No,
Charlie, we've had enough sunlight.
You need more rain.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I've had in Charlie. The weather has been hot this year. You see, we need the rains to wash away plenty things.
This weather is hot.
I'm saying it's been hot
You
this
don't need
year.
heavy rains, right?
Yes, we just need some light drizzle
okay.
to clean things.
Okay.
You know,
I
to clean
get
things.
it.
No, but why is it that when it rains we are scared in Accra?
Hey, Master.
Won't you be scared?
Why are you scared?
Shouldn't we be scared?
We spent a lot of money on making the city nice.
No, Charlie, don't go there. Anyway, voter registration has started. Lots of stories. I think the headlines are replete.
Yes,
With those stories.
and yesterday our 2,000 advice for something to do
Hey,
on
hey,
Facebook.
hey,
It's got
hey.
1,100 comments.
Are you serious?
People sharing various ideas and others also having fun.
And
So
it was on Twitter, it was a significant trend.
So,
as well
in
for a
case you
while.
haven't heard, there's a challenge this week for your money segment. There's somebody who just finished university.
That's 2,000.
He has 2,000 cedis and he wants to start a business. He doesn't know what to do. We need your advice.
Yes, today we'll read 5 ideas
5 ideas that came
from
through.
people on your money.
But if you send one this morning, we may replace one of the 5 and put yours there.
Yes.
So let us know. The WhatsApp number is 054-998-6996. Somebody has 2,000 cedis. He's not married, has no kids, he's patching. He wants to start a business. What ideas can you suggest for this person?
Send
go
us
to
a
the
WhatsApp.
Let's
and
go to the
tweet
Ghanaian
with the
Times.
hashtag your money. Now, the Ghanaian Times, President inaugurates 74.3 million Ghana City water projects in the Central Region. We will deal with troublemakers at registration centers. Greater Accra Regional Minister. Who wins presidential pitch today? That's the big question. 3 judges murdered 38 years ago remembered, and voter registration takes off smoothly, but with social distancing, mask wearing concerns.
Front page of the Daily Graphic says enthusiasm. Many turn up to register on first day. Social distancing protocols breached. That's what I want. Bubruja. COVID-19 private sector fund appeals for support. Government free water for all ends.
The Finder, voters rush for cards, but many disregard social distancing protocols. GMA, that is the Ghana Medical Association, laments lack of PPE, shortage of COVID-19 test kits, and CBG supports NDA with 50,000 Ghana cedis to return 500 Kaya home.
Front page of the Herald newspaper, massive anger and enthusiasm greet voter registration. Pockets of irregularities, fighting, faulty machines, and others recorded. Akufo-Addo further weakens his incorruptible claims. Sacks Auditor General Martin Amidu in hiding, and Chief petitions IGP over activities of ACP Kwesi Fori and others.
The Chronicle, how pirates seized crew of Ghanaian registered fishing vessel. They have the full story. Social distancing takes back seat in registration exercise. And after all the quote, NDC admits voter turnout impressive.
That's the Chronicle again.
That's the
Front page of the new publisher. Nana's COVID-19 rules abandoned at voter registration centers. Mensia South schools top BECA results. 10 die in bloody Obuasi accident.
Now the new crusading guide. NDC unveils quote collapsible unquote campaign team against NPP towards December polls. Chirabosom flags Nanado, says president is politically blind and deaf, and John Kuma hails Akufo-Addo for introducing NEIP.
Front page of the Daily Statesman, smooth start for voters registration exercise with few problems at some centers. Mahama to scapegoat Alabi for likely 2020 defeat is also on the front page of the paper.
And the Go Street business, domestic forest markets trading to be legalized as early as next year. No timelines in place for AFTA's delayed takeoff, as today marks planned start of duty-free trading. SEC gets tough with anti-money laundering fight, and IMF forecast strong economic rebound for Ghana in 2021. In our cocoa sector, consortium give first tranche of $600 million to Cocoa Board.
Let me take you online.
One more, just
Okay.
one more. COVID-19 spurs use of mobile banking is the big story on the front page of the BNFT. But the story I'll give you later. GRA locks up Chinese firm recycling government textbooks into toilet roll.
You can't be serious.
I'll give you that story.
GRA, that's what?
They've locked up a Chinese firm that is recycling government textbooks into toilet roll.
Wow. Now, let me take you to citinewsroom.com. The lead story: military deployment was to check over 250 unapproved routes along borders. This is Nitiwo. Also, Kolebu Registration Center records over 20 persons with COVID-19 symptoms. One registration center, Kolebu. Now, Ghana Bar Association proposes softer sanctions for non-wearing of face masks. And government amends date for July evacuation of Ghanaians stranded in the UK. Other stories on the same website: failure to ensure 24-hour test results worrying. This is GMA on COVID-19. And 10 dead, 13 others injured after a road crash on the Obuasi Dankwa Road. Now, if you go to citybusinessnews.com, tomato farmers in Chobodon make gains as border closure curtails importation from Burkina Faso. Also, Netflix hires Bozoma St. John as first Black C-suite executive marketing chief. And BOG accepts less than 50% of bids in last dollar auction in June. MyJoyOnline.com, daylight robbery. Police on manhunt for motor riding robber who gunned down caretaker of Bantama SDA Church.
Oh, sad story.
Also, EC impressed with turnout on day one voter registration. And let's address all sources of tension ahead of elections. GBA president. If you go to Star FM, 45 new COVID-19 cases recorded in the Eastern region. Also, GFE Console's football season. And prosecute MPP members who flouted COVID-19 protocols during primaries. This is the Ghana Medical Association. BBC, first arrest in Hong Kong as anti-protest law kicks in. And that's the main story there. US buys almost all the global remdesivir supply. That's the medicine which some people believe can help cure COVID-19. Nigeria's total cases exceeds 25,000. That's on Channels Television. Let's start with our registration stories.
Okay, front page of the Daily Graphic is where I'll begin. The mass voters registration exercise to prepare for the December 7, 2020 general election took off yesterday on an enthusiastic note, with thousands of Ghanaians showing up to have their names on the new electoral roll being compiled by the Electoral Commission. The EC, which described the first day of the exercise as largely successful, has estimated that 16 million Ghanaians are eligible to take part in the 38-day exercise. In several of the registration centers, enthusiastic Ghanaians had queued up by 6 a.m. in order to be among the first to be registered. There was a unique situation at the Kaswayon City in the Central Region, where some persons who went to the registration center very early used stones to form a long line in a bid to secure their places before going back home to prepare and return later to go through the registration. Now, on COVID-19 protocols, they were not fully complied with. For instance, although Veronica buckets were placed at the registration centers to enable people wash their hands before going through the registration, many people ignored the washing of hands. However, the no mask, no entry policy was applied to the fullest, but the most abused protocol was the social distancing.
I got a lot of calls from people who said that the social distancing was not happening. People were crowded, standing next to each other.
And there's zero.
Be that as it may, there's a story here that the EC says it's happy about the turnout of the opening day of registration in the Ejisu constituency. This is on myjournline.com. The story says Municipal Electoral Officer Edward Jemfi observed applicants have also comported themselves. 14 registration centers in 4 communities in the constituency are being covered in phase 1 of the exercise. And then they give some details about when the people turned up and why the EC said they were happy with the comportment.
The Chronicle says voter turnout impressive, but social distancing takes backseat in registration exercise. And I'll give you the social distancing story. Agnes Ansa and Benis Bessie writes that despite the numerous education provided by government agencies to ensure that people protect themselves while undertaking the voter registration exercise, the Chronicle can report that social distancing rules were grossly disrespected. The Electoral Commission commenced the voter registration exercise throughout the country yesterday. And a day to the commencement of the exercise, the EC boss said Ghana had not beaten or curtailed the spread of COVID-19. And so they'll put in place strategies to ensure social distancing. But the Chronicles report from the various places.
Let me take you to Volta Region. Star News. 2 NDC members arrested for challenging non-residents at Drobonso. 2 members of the opposition NDC have been arrested in the Central Front Plains constituency in the Ashanti region for allegedly challenging a non-resident from registering the ongoing voter registration exercise in the area. The 2 are currently behind bars at the Drobonso police and are scheduled for court on Wednesday. The law permits residents of a particular constituency to register in the constituency for the purpose of voting. And then the reports attempts by the Member of Parliament for the area, Alex Adoma, could secure them bail, having failed. Meanwhile, North Regional Police Commander Dikop Timothy Yosabonga expressed satisfaction over security in the various registration centers in Tamale. So generally a fair start for day one.
And also quickly, just that in Kofodia as well, the police arrested some applicants who did not wear face.
Meanwhile, a
masks.
Kolebu registration center records over 20 persons with COVID-19 symptoms. This story is by Dela Yadogla Besa on City Newsroom. The Kolebu Police Station Registration Center within the Ablekumasau district of Greater Accra recorded over 20 persons seeking to register for their voter ID card presenting symptoms of COVID-19 at the center. According to one of the health officers stationed at the registration center, Rabiatu Brahma, these persons had high temperature, were coughing or had a cold. Each person at the registration center has their temperature taken by health personnel looking out for temperatures above 37.5. Now, the officer noted that they recorded figures as high as 39.6 degrees, which was a little troubling. Not just the temperatures. These are people who are giving us symptoms of cough, cold, and some are trying to be smart about it. But once you persist, they tell you they have had a cough for about a week. People with high temperature are set aside for other persons and rechecked. There are people who go back to check and you realize the temperature goes back to normal. Others, it rather keeps escalating. Now, what we are not told is whether they were sent to a hospital or not. But she is reporting to the journalist in the story that there are about 20 of them who had temperatures which are above normal. I don't know whether that means they were sent to a hospital or not. That's not very clear from the story.
Okay, let's give you more on COVID-19 related matters.
Okay, that's good.
The Ghana Medical Association has lamented the inadequate personal protective equipment for health personnel leading the country's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The association wants the government to expeditiously find solutions towards supplying the PPE to health facilities across the country to reduce the rate of infections among health personnel. Now, in a statement, they say that the GME calls on the government to, as a matter of priority and urgency, provide the needed PPE, both in quality and quantity, at all times to address the recurrent inadequacy of PPE at health facilities. And the paper goes on to write that this is not the first time the association has decried the lack of PPE for health facilities.
So this is a GMA.
Yes, the Ghana Medical Association.
There's also a GBA. They are calling for lessening of the current sanctions for not wearing face masks. In a statement, the association said the current punishments are severe and may culminate in the imposition of custodial sentences. They said prisons are already congested and may shortly be teeming with convicts who are unable to pay fines imposed by courts. Now, they're basically saying that the way the law is written, it is prone to be abused, and therefore they're asking for a new EI that would address that concern. Godfred.
And if you go to page 16 of the Daily Graphic, two quick stories there. Government's free water for all ends.
Yes.
So take note of
We
that.
know that from yesterday.
Yeah. And also COVID-19 private sector fund appeals for support is also on the same page.
Now, I think we should move to other stories now.
Should we stay with politics?
Why not?
NDC announces election 2020 campaign team.
Well, we heard that from yesterday,
Yes.
unless there's a change in the names.
Well, there's no change, but the finder
It leads with that.
yes leads with that.
Okay, I want to take you somewhere you'll be interested in. Tomato farmers in Tiobodom, not too far from your hometown, they make gains as border closure curtails importation from Burkina Faso.
This is good news.
So the border closure issue is not always bad.
Yes.
In fact, before I do that, military deployment was to check over 250 unapproved routes. This is Dominic Nitiwu speaking on face-to-face yesterday. Minister for Defense Dominic Nitiwu has reiterated government's decision to deploy military personnel along the country's borders. According to him, the move by government was part of efforts to prevent the country from a possible terrorist attack, as reported cases of terrorist activities were increasing in neighboring countries. Now, I'm reading this because the Burkina border has been of great concern. Now, the positive side is that on citybusinessnews.com, local farmers in Tiobodom have witnessed an exponential increase in demand by buyers who would have usually imported from Burkina Faso. The country loses about $99.5 million to Burkina Faso through the importation of fresh tomatoes annually before the outbreak of COVID-19 in Ghana and the subsequent closure of the country's borders. Burkina was the main destination for fresh tomato importers who was the main source, not main destination, who neglected tomato produced in places like Tiobodom. But following the continuous closure of the borders, women who travel to Burkina Faso for fresh tomatoes are now buying them from Tiobodom. Clement Yebo, a tomato farmer, told City Business News in an interview that they are now buying their tomatoes and the market is good. We are calling on government to put in place measures that would ensure that they buy more from us than going back to Burkina Faso.
Also, the government, Ministry of Agric and Ministry of Science should also pay attention to tomato processing. Yesterday, the doctor we spoke to on City Business Festival, solar drying of tomatoes to prevent losses. Whilst we increase production, we should also increase post-harvest technologies to support the farmers.
Okay, could you?
Now, if you go to the central region, the president has inaugurated the 74.3 million Ghana Cedi water project in the central region. Now, this is in the center spread of the Times. The story says the president, and now the Danko Akufo-Addo, yesterday cut the tape in 2 communities as separate ceremonies to mark the inauguration of water projects, which are aimed at providing potable water to some communities across the region. The project, undertaken by the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, has increased water coverage for the region from 63.8% to 70%. About 184,000 people in 146 communities across 8 districts in the central region are benefiting from the project under the Sustainable Rural Water and Sanitation project.
Now,
let me give you 2 stories, one from the Herald, one from the BNFT, the Chinese firm toilet roll story. I'll give you that one. But if you go to page 5 of the Herald, first of all, chiefs petition IGP of activities of ACP Kwesi Fori and others. The chiefs and elders of Adigon Divisional Council under the Tema Traditional Council have accused the Greater Accra Regional Director of Police Operations, Assistant Commissioner of Police Kwesi Fori of and police of land guards of brutalities leading to apprehension among inhabitants of the area. And a petition to the IGP James Opombwen Wani Tete Atenya II has called for an immediate investigation into the activities of the police chief and other named land guards. It is the second petition sent to the IGP by the chiefs and elders of Adigon Divisional Council. Indeed, there are reports that some of the police officers involved in the acts have either been offered houses or lands as bribes by estate developers to terrorize people into subjugation. So you can get that for more details. Now, if you go to the BNFT on page 2, they have this story, and it says that the Ghana Revenue Authority has locked up an unlicensed Chinese factory, Everyday Manufacturing Limited, located at the Wuti Senya constituency in the central region, for illegally recycling cartons of government textbooks into toilet rolls.
Wow.
The Special Revenue Mobilization Task Force of the GRA embarked on the action after a tip-off and thorough investigation into operations of the company for 2 weeks by the Counterintelligence Unit of the GRA. Now, it says that we are going to estimate cost of the exercise books and other raw materials used for producing the toilet roll. Based on the estimates, the Commissioner General will be in the best position to issue the tax due after deducting from what the company has paid already.
But how did they get the textbooks? And who gave it to them? The
story does not list.
So they get government
textbooks
textbooks.
Ghana or textbooks imported from China.
That's another good question. And then they recycle it into T-roll and sell back to us.
Yes.
But that's crazy. That's really crazy. Anyway, let's go back to other stories. Kojo.
Let's go to some money issues. You know, Cocoa Board was in the news last 2 weeks. The Gold Street Business says consortium gives first tranche of $600 million to Cocoa Board. That's the first story. Now, the other one, so there are 2 IMF stories. One said COVID-19 crisis, more severe economic fallout than anticipated. And the other says IMF forecast strong economic rebound for Ghana in 2021. So whilst generally the people are going to suffer, the IMF predicts that by 2021, Ghana's economy will
Let me give you a road accident story. 10 dead, 13 others injured after road crash on Obuasi Dankwa Road. The 10 persons have died in a road crash that occurred on the Obuasi Dankwa Road on the night of Monday, June 29th.
Dankwa or Dankwa?
DANKWA. 13 others are injured and are receiving treatment at the hospital. This according to Motor Traffic and Transport Department Commander of Obuasi, DSP Joseph Okra. According to him, the accident occurred as a result of a head-on collision between a Sprinter bus and a Ford vehicle. He narrated the incident to Citi News, saying that on that date around 9:30 p.m. they received information that there was an accident on the intersection on the Obuasi and now they've written Dunkwa. So the police proceeded to the accident scene immediately. So far, 10 people have died. 4 of those who sustained injuries were sent to the hospital, died later. So the number of persons who have died are now 10. Godfrey.
Now, I'll give you 2 quick stories. Again, one from the new publisher. We'll register to vote against you. Collapsed bank customers tell Akufo-Addo. That's on page 2 of the paper. Coalition of aggrieved customers of collapsed bank says its members will defy obstacles in the ongoing voter registration exercise to register in order to be able to vote in the December polls. Now, quote from their statement says that many of our businesses have collapsed. We lost our loved ones who died from the shock and pain of losing their lifetime investments and savings, and many could not pay their medical bills for surgeries that could have otherwise saved their lives. Now, there was another big story yesterday, but that was in the sporting world, so it's been kicked to the
The
sports
season, the
pages.
season cancellation.
Yes, the GFA cancels 2019-2020 season, and CAF have also changed their calendar. Story by
Yes.
Maurice Kwanzaa. The Ghana Football Association has cancelled the 2019-2020 football season as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. The FA took the decision yesterday after a marathon meeting at its secretariat in Accra.
Really sad. Now, judiciary marks murder of High Court judges 38 years on. This story is one that will not go away. The Ghana Bar and Bench has, on June 30, marked the gruesome murder of 3 High Court judges and a retired army officer, which occurred 38 years ago. The public servants, Justice Cecilia Kranting-Addo, Frederick Pokusa Akode, and Kojo Ajay-Japong, as well as a retired army officer, Major Sam Aqua, were abducted from their homes on June 30, 1982, under the cover of darkness and shot to death. Their bodies were then soaked with petrol and set on fire. The ensuing public outrage compelled the Rawlings-headed PNDC to constitute a special investigative body chaired by Justice Azu Krab, which findings led to the prosecution and execution of a member of the PNDC, Joachim Amatekwe, Corporal Samuel Amedeka, and Michael Senya, as well as 2 ex-soldiers, Johnny Jandu and Tony Tekbo. The judiciary has, however, celebrated these slain public officers as martyrs for the rule of law, delivering a sermon at their service. The presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, Reverend Dr. Paul Boafu, called on the bar to ensure that the lawyers and judges pursue the tenets of justice for all, particularly the lowest in society. Kojo.
Well, Godfrey says he wants some rain, but I'm not sure the people in Ho want rain now.
Tell me about it.
Ho residents count losses from heavy rainfall.
Wow.
And the story says residents of Donokoji and Desiadenyo,
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 Donokoji, and Desiadenyo in Ho are counting their losses after 2 days of intermittent downfall, which caused massive floods which filled their homes up to knee level.
Hey!
Yes. The floods on Sunday and Monday filled about 100 houses, destroying personal belongings and causing widespread destruction of life.
Now I have an FDA story here. FDA seizes COVID-19 herbal cure after announced expose. Story by Ellen Dapa, CitiNewsroom.com. The Food and Drugs Authority has seized a total of 431 bottles of 2 unregistered herbal drugs purported to cure the novel coronavirus. This follows an expose by investigative journalist Anas Aramea Anas and Tiger IPI. Anas released his latest investigative piece on Monday, dubbed Corona Quacks, which exposed persons swindling others in the name of having COVID-19 cure in Ghana. Now, the FDA, with the assistance of the Police Drug Enforcement Unit of the Ghana Police CID, seized 431 bottles of 2 unregistered herbal products, namely COVID Cure 1 and COVID Cure 2, which purported to treat COVID-19 as it violates Section 118 of the Public Health Act, a statement from the FDA said. COVID Cure 1, COVID Cure 2. And the FDA released a statement to that effect. The perpetrators are Dr. Abdullah and his richest assistant, Dr. Abdul Samad bin Musa. They've been in police custody for violating sections of the act as read. Well, that's all we have time for, gentlemen. Thank you. Coming up next is the City Business News. Stay with us.